Ed Rodnick Fun with Food here with you again. St. Patrick's Day is upon us. I wanted to share a quick video of how I make my corned beef. Now let's talk about corned beef just for a minute. What is corned beef? Well, it's the brisket of a cow. And where does the brisket come from? Well, if you think of a cow's head, its neck, and its chest that rolls down to its stomach, it would be the lower portion of the cow's chest. And there's two particular cuts that are most popular. The flat cut and the point cut. Difference being the flat cut is a little more tender, it has less marbling and a little more of the meat, whereas the point cut is a little more marbling, it has more fat content. The difference being is that the flat cut is a little bit better if you're going to slice it for sandwiches or for if you're going to have it on a plate. The point cut, you can still use that, but the point cut tends to be a little bit rougher, so you cook this a little longer. This makes great, you know, if you want to shred it and makes a corned beef hash or things like that. So, but I'm going to do one of each. Now I've got about, this is almost a 5-pound piece of flat. This is almost a 3-pound piece of point. Roughly, I boil my corned beef roughly about 45 to 50 minutes per pound. So it's two different pieces. So we'll go with the almost 5-pound piece. It's going to take around 3.5 hours probably to get it. You want to get it to about 160 degrees internal temperature. It's important not to overboil it because then it will start to crumble and it'll start to fall apart when you slice it. Now, if you're making corned beef hash again, that's fine. If you want nice slices for dinner, you don't want to go too much beyond that 160, 165 internal temperature, which you can check while it's in the water with a thermometer to check the internal temperature of the meat. So here's what we're going to do. So here's how I do things. So we'll take our flat cut into our stock pot and our point cut right next to it. Now, I like to add to mine, and this is something I do, maybe other people do, I don't know. I will add an onion quartered. I will add an orange quartered. I will add a lemon quartered. And I will add a lime quartered. Now, I've tried this a lot. I think the acid mixed in with the water, I just think it helps tenderize a little more. It gives a little fruity flavor to the broth. When I get done boiling my corned beef, I'll pull the corned beef out and let it rest. I'll put my vegetables right in the same broth and the same thing. It just gives a really nice flavor to the broth. Now, pickling spice. Typically, the corned beef comes with these little packets of pickling spice, which is fine. You can use these. I buy pickling spice in a big bag. It's a little coarser. It's a little bit bigger pieces. To me, it just works a little bit better. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this over to the sink and fill this with water. You want to cover the corned beef with water, and then I'll sprinkle my pickling spice in. So I'll be right back. I've covered the meat with water. I'm going to throw in my pickling spice. I like to float it across, kind of cover the top of the water. That's how I kind of judge how much I need. We can also use these little packets. Just take one and cut it. Oh, whoops. You don't want that in there. And sprinkle some of that in there too. Now, I'm going to put this on the stove on high. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. It's going to probably take 3.5 hours. So through the magic of camera editing, when we come back, you'll see the finished product. One thing, if you're doing it this way, you got to keep an eye on it. If the water starts to boil down to a point where the meat is up and out of the water, you need to add some more water to keep the meat covered during the cooking process. So here we go over to the stove, and we'll get this started. See you in about 3.5 hours. So it's been about 3.5 hours. The corned beef is now out of the boiling liquid. I've let it set for a few minutes just to let it tighten up a little bit. I just wanted to show you this is what we ended up with for our flat, and this is what we ended up with our point. Just to give you a real good idea. So you do get a little bit of fat on this, and the thing to do is to just give that a little trim off. Just like that. Get that out of the way. And then you always want to cut corned beef against the grain. So the grain goes this way. So we're going to cut against the grain, which is this way. now you can take nice thin slices and you have beautiful corned beef slices for breakfast or for sandwiches, or if you're having corned beef dinner. Same with the point cut. You'll cut off this little fat cap. You can leave some of it. There's a lot of flavor there. It's not, you don't want a ton of fat on this. And the same thing. Now you can see the direction of the grain is this way. So you would cut this against the grain. And you have gorgeous little slices. Now you can see, here's the difference you can see between the point cut and the flat cut. This has got a lot more, there's a lot more muscle here, there's a lot more meat here, where this has more marbling and more fat, it's a little stringier, but it tastes just as good. You can use both to make sandwiches, you can use both for dinner. But that's my way of doing corned beef. I've been doing it that way for years, and I think it turns out really nice. Plus it gets that nice little fruitiness, that flavor, and the fruit, certainly the acid in the fruit certainly helps the meat tenderize a little bit down. So happy Thanksgiving, happy St. Patrick's Day from Adirondack Fun with Food.